Scott, it wasn't quite an entertaining first half, but the second was very eventful. It's finished 3-2 in the end to Welling. Where do you want to start with how the first half went, I guess, when Welling were 2-0 up at half time?
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where 800 people expect us to win because they look at the league table. And obviously Yella's over there, and we spoke about it this morning. These are the types of games that last year we let ourselves down in. We've been good against the bottom sides this year. We've taken a lot of points off them. But to lose in that manner today, I think was extremely disappointing. To be 2-0 down, it's always an uphill battle. To then go 3-0 down, it goes 3-2 after 65 minutes maybe, something like that. And at that point, I fancy us. I really do. I think we've got momentum. We have a couple of glaringly, obviously good chances. We don't take them, and you then wonder and think, is it going to be one of those days? And it's extremely disappointing. It's probably still a little bit raw at the moment. Credit to Welling, they defended for their lives, made it extremely frustrating, and I said at half time they've got the right to time waste because they've gone 2-0 up, they're away from home. We would do exactly the same thing. I have no issues with that at all, but I thought the referee needs to manage it better. I'm going to be brutally honest about that. I thought she was disappointing. I thought there was a easy penalty claim in the second half. I think the 9 as well just got booked. There was a clear foul on Dan Roth. You don't give the foul because you have to book him again and he's off. So it's just a decision that she doesn't want to make because it's a difficult one and a big one. So yeah, I showed my frustrations towards her at times at the end, but just be fair, get the game going. I don't think the ball's in play for long enough today. But let me make it clear, we would have done exactly the same if we're away, but it's not down to us to get well into play quickly. But I just didn't think it was sped up enough. But we take blame for how we started. I think the 2 goals that they scored, quite similar in terms of in the manner that it was scored in. Yeah, extremely disappointing. We just looked at the league table, and it was one of those games, if you win today you go up to 3rd. And everyone pats you on the back, then all of a sudden you drop out of the playoffs. And yeah, I don't know, it's just one of those days that you have to draw a line in the sand and move on to Tuesday.
Just before we speak a little bit more about more refereeing decisions, namely the one right at the end of the game with Dan Bayliss, what is it for you that for some reason it's taking until like a 3-0 scoreline for the team to sort of get into gear again? Yeah,
it's a mentality thing. I just said once it gets a little bit dark here and the lights are on, and there's almost a bit of a shadow over the pitch, we come alive. And it can't take that. It can't take us to be 2-0 down, or it can't take for the weather to turn, or it to get a little bit sort of a night feel to it. I think we just find a lot more intensity, and I thought at 65 minutes when it went 3-2, Sam took his goal really well. I thought to myself, do you know what, this is one of those days where you just go and win the game. Similar to last week, obviously we won it on penalties, but you go and win the game and just say, listen lads, job done. We can play better than that. But in the end, it's one of those days where you go away extremely disappointed, thinking what could have been. But yeah, listen, the lads have been absolutely superb. I think that's important to say. I think they've been brilliant. But the amount of chances that we've missed today, the saves the keeper's made, I don't think we've played poorly, especially in the second half. Even in the first half, I think we had 7 shots, they had 4, but they're 2-0 up. I think Franny goes through in the first minute. If he scores, it's a different game. He then goes through, there's one that he hits over the bar, there's another one that goes through 2 minutes later and he kicks it wide, and it's just those moments. On another day he goes away with a hat-trick, so we're not going to put the blame on him, but it's those moments in football that sometimes can define your season in terms of what type of team you're going to be. So yeah, listen, no blame on the lads. I think that they always give us absolutely everything they've got, but when we're 2-0 down we probably need the strikers to help us out a little bit. I thought they could do better in the final third. We were quite disappointed, to be fair, with sort of the attacking players in the first half, but then they can be disappointed with us at the back that we've conceded 2 goals. So it's always a team effort. I think it's important to say that no one will ever win a game or lose a game by themselves whilst they're at this football club.
Is it a concern at all that there's a small pattern sort of emerging where we've not started games very well recently? Is it down to anything in particular? Is it down to maybe just the legs?
No, we've not changed anything. The warm-up's always been the same. The team talks have always been the same. I do my bit, Yella does his bit. We've never changed it in the 2 years. So I don't think it's that. We are obviously working with a small squad. I think next week, I think Henry's going to be out. Bayliss will be out now. Might still have a couple of injuries. Alexis is still out for Tuesday. We've got a couple of knocks. People just getting through to the end of the game today. So yeah, we are down to the bare bones. So it is what it is. We just have to just crack on with it and try and get through a tough patch. We knew that November was going to be really difficult. Would we have liked more points? Yeah, of course. I think this is one of the games today that we would have backed ourselves in, especially being at home with our record. But then in the grand scheme of things, I think that's 2 defeats now in 35 games at home. So I'm always harsh on myself. I'm never too harsh on the boys, but for me, I kind of get a little bit greedy when we play at home because I expect us to go and get a result, and I think everyone else does, not just in the ground but in the league. Spoke to a lot of managers this week, and they were talking about his fixture, saying that's a good game to have. There's no good games to have in this league. I actually said to Yellow I'd rather be playing a boring one at home today because I feel like we'd get up for that a lot easier. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something we have to look at, but we can certainly do a lot better than what we did today in the first half.
And just a comment then about the last minute red card for Dan Bayliss. What was said to you by the officials around the decision? Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually see what had happened.
Yeah, so the lad's gone to the floor and Bayliss, he said to me, he said, yeah, I trod on him. He said, but I've not stamped on him. He said, I don't know where I'm meant to put my foot. So I didn't actually realise he got sent off. I said to the linesman, I said, like, who's giving this? He was like, me, he stamped on him. There's not even a mark on the lad. I went over there to have a look at him. I said, where's the mark? Because if someone stamps on you, let me tell you, there's 6 studs, 8 studs, 12 studs, whatever there is. There's nothing. But I'm not going to get bitter or twisted about that. I think the gamesmanship today, Rod wasn't here, but I played with him for a year. They earn the right to play that way, and I completely back it every single day of the week. We would do the same. But I just think that it was too slow. It was quite laborious. But yeah, listen, I've got full respect for Rod and Kev. They're obviously fighting for their lives at the moment, and that's a massive, massive win for them today. I think they came and set up in a shape that was quite reserved at times, but then they scored 2 goals in a reserved shape, so we're the problem. We need to do better, and I don't want to blame the referee. I will look forward to watching everything back. I think the penalty shout on Sam Evans is, the keeper's just absolutely clattered into him from behind. I think it's one of the clearest penalties I think I've ever seen in my life. But big decisions are for big referees, and it's obviously not been one that she's wanted to make today. Finally
then, we'll talk about what is probably more difficult games to come in the next week. Of course, it's a double away game week with that first the trip to Chippenham on Tuesday, followed by Chelmsford next Saturday. How are you going to prepare the team for that now with, like you said, a few players missing? Is someone like Johnny Goddard, is he going to be back available into the side?
No, Johnny won't be back. Quex won't be back. Lexus is still out. I've got a knock on my ankle. My ankle's huge at the moment, so there's a few bodies in there that are bruised and battered, but we'll get on with it. We've got people like Sam Evans, Dan Roth, Gary Abersogan, Spicer if we need to. It's good to see Noah Hay on the bench today as well. The boys have been doing really well in the EDS. So yeah, we are down to the bare bones. Can we bring anyone else in? No, not at the moment. So are we going to be able to bring anyone in by Tuesday? No, definitely not. It doesn't really happen like that. But I think give us 10 days, 2 weeks, all of a sudden we've got Johnny, Quex, Lexus. The disappointing thing now is that Bayliss is going to miss Maidenhead at home, which is a massive, massive loss. Over either a stupid decision that he's made, I'll have to wait to see it back, or a decision that was just not needed to be made by the linesman. So I will watch it back, I'll have a look at it, but Dan's adamant that he's not stamped on him. He's not that type of person, he's not stupid. You can't get away with it, it's 2 yards in front of the linesman, so I don't know. It's an extremely disappointing day. There's so many negatives in amongst what could have been a really positive day with the chances that we created. So yeah, it's just one of them.
Commiserations, Scott, and we'll see you again on Tuesday for the away trip to Chippenham.
Cheers, Con, thank you.